Welcome back to our study in the first letter that John wrote. In our last session, we started the first chapter, and we're going to pick up in verse 3 and 4, and we're going to connect the themes as we go. We'll be doing a summary probably at the end of each chapter, and then when we get to the end of the book, we're going to kind of just look at it and say, what did it say? How do we apply that to our lives? So with that, let's pick up in verse 3 and 4. Verse 3, what we have seen and heard we proclaim to you also, so that you too may have fellowship with us. And indeed, our fellowship is with the Father and with His Son, Jesus Christ. These things we write, so that our joy may be made complete. Wow. What he is talking about here is the way we come together in fellowship. And it's through Jesus Christ that we know God. It's interesting because our fellowship is with God, but it doesn't happen unless Jesus Christ is there. So our fellowship is through Jesus Christ. In the Gospel of John, chapter 2, verse 29, John the Baptist makes some statements that we really need to listen to that kind of help us understand, to a certain measure, why John is writing what he's writing. He says in John 2:29, he who has the bride is the groom, but the friend of the groom, who stands and listens to him, rejoices greatly because of the groom's voice. So, this joy of mine has been made full. He must increase, but I must decrease. That's John the Baptist speaking. And he's saying, the way we come into the joy and fellowship of knowing Jesus and having a relationship with God through Christ is when we are less and He is more. Okay? And that brings joy, because when we focus our lives into Jesus Christ, we can know Him better, and He becomes the focus that brings real life, real light, and joy into our hearts. And that brings a fullness that we need to live by, especially in the world we live in today. The Gospel of John, chapter 19, verse 35 says this, and he who has seen has testified, and his testimony is true, and he knows that he is telling the truth, so that you also may believe. John himself, the Apostle John, said this. He says, I know what I've seen. I know what my testimony is. It's true. And I'm giving you this so that you may know Jesus Christ, and you may believe also. And he knows where he's at spiritually. He is a first-hand witness. And he tells us this is what he's seen, this is what he's heard, and this is what he proclaims to us, so that we may have fellowship with God through Jesus Christ. And in doing that, we fellowship with one another, because we are unified in our faith through His death, through His burial, and through His resurrection. We'll pick up next session with the next few verses. See you then.